Welcome to the next episode of On the Fly podcast, a casual conversation about coaching youth lacrosse. My name is Steve Reale, and I'll be your host for today. Very excited to be on for the first time hosting. I was on a couple weeks ago as a guest, so looking forward to this all. Really excited to have our guest on today, Peter Smyth of HGR Lacrosse. He's the partner and vice president, as well as a 4-year player at Nichols College, 2-year captain. Played at Austin Prep for 4 years, 2-year captain there, and also played for the Kingfish of the ALL for a couple years as well. Pete, welcome along.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and I'm excited to get started and kind of talk some lacrosse.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. You know, big topic of today I want to kind of go through is the club versus town and kind of what the benefits of club are, and kind of put to bed some of the misconceptions that people have and things that we hear as a president of the youth program, just listening to and getting asked the questions. I'm sure you get a million questions as well. So I guess we'll start here with what would you think the biggest difference between club and town MYL type stuff would be?
Yeah, so I think the biggest difference and this is just kind of going, I've been a high school coach for 20 years now. Head assistant, I've seen kids come through, I think every program in the state, right? And I think it boils down to what the kids are being taught and what they're able to be taught in club compared to town, right? Town, you have a variety of skill levels, right? Some kids are just picking it up. Some kids, have been playing for, since they could walk, right? Like you have a variety of skill levels all over the place. Club, that gap narrows. So you're able to teach the kids a little bit more of team concepts and what to do in uneven scenarios and actually teach a little bit more like side packages on defense because every kid is there. They have a general skill level that is equal with each other, where town, it varies so much depending on what age group you're coaching and the skill level of that age group, which is hard. Right? I think I got 4 kids myself. I'm coaching town, I'm coaching high school, I'm coaching club. I've coached high school club. Right now I'm with the 4th graders in club, like you, right? We're coaching the same age group, and it's a different animal at every age group. But I think the biggest thing club wise is you're able to learn the sport a little bit more, and advanced concepts are starting to become taught at a younger age group. Like our 4th grade team right now, right? They have a ride, they have a clear, they have, a general basic knowledge of offense, of clearing space, even setting picks, right? We've started to include that in 4th grade lacrosse at the club level. If you look at town, you're not at that level. It's spacing, baby shape, passing the ball, how to get open from a lock off at 4th grade level.
And how not to crowd into things. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's just you're seeing a different level of skill, of knowledge be taught at the club level
Yeah.
right
I
now.
mean, I'll say I've been coaching the youth level at those young ages for a while, and coaching this past season with the club at the 34s was awesome. I mean, doing the things that you never thought little 4th graders would be able to do was pretty impressive. I mean, I think at one point we were trying to even work in like a midfield substitution in one of it, and it worked. And it was like, oh,
Ye-
what a difference. And I guess you're right. The biggest challenge on that one is in town. You got kids that they're only there to really kind of make friends and get invited to a birthday party. But at the club level, everyone there is there for lacrosse. And
Yeah.
their parents are putting them in there, dragging them to the tournaments and practices. And so you're getting a lot more investment from the players at that level.
And I think it's important to have both, to be honest, right? Like at HGR, we haven't done anything really in the spring ever because we want the kids to be focused on their town programs. And sure, we get parents all the time being like, my kid's bored or whatever have you. And it's more for building the town's lacrosse program so that hopefully they all go to the same high school. And now you have, let's say I live in North Andover or Chelmsford, even, like all of a sudden the high school program is really, really good because all those kids stayed in town, stayed together. And, you're going to have kids that might not want to play when they get to high school. But if you can keep 20 kids playing all the way through high school, that means like your senior class at one point is going to be 20 kids deep, and you're going to have a run at a state title, right?
Right.
With 20 seniors, right? That's the ultimate goal, right? And I think it's great for the kids socially too to be introduced to kids that they may not hang out with at school, right? Like there's definitely a really cool benefit to town lacrosse and mixing all those kids together. And my one of my big things in this whole thing, right, when starting HGR with Brian and kind of building the program, like we built it, we wanted it to be something that we wanted our kids to be a part of, right? That was our main focus. Like one day we want our kids to be in this program, and we want this program to be something that we would want our kids to be a part of. And I think that's huge, but passion in the sport drives everything, right? And you can have kids, like you hear it all the time, stories of kids that join in 8th grade that all of a sudden they're playing college lacrosse when they get to the college level. And it's because they find, in my opinion, they find that passion where passion drives the ship,
Right.
right? That
$100%.
if they get that passion and they enjoy going to practice, and they may not be the best kid in 4th grade, but if they find that passion and they work on it constantly, all of a sudden, freshman year, they're at the top of the pack, right? And the more that we can not rely on wins and losses and how to create this passion, like you're going to see those teams lacrosse skill levels flourish, right? And the sky's the limit at that point.
Yeah, I mean, and to that point, about passion, it's how many times you've seen a kid with the most talent in the world on the field and he just doesn't want to be there. He could care less. Those kids tend to bottom out early, but then you get a kid that may not be as skilled at the lower levels, but he loves the game and he's working hard at it and studying. And then by the time he's in high school, he's one of the best players out there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just you're
And
right.
then
Passion is pretty much the base and foundation of it all. So
yeah, and then like eventually, I always say like I lucked out. I get to work in the industry every day, right? Like I have a lacrosse stick in my hand every single day. And I still, every time I go to play like an over 30 or over 40 men's league, I get giddy and like all excited because I still have that passion. I can't put it down, right? I want that same for every kid that picks up a lacrosse stick. How do I get them to have that same passion and excitement so when they're 40 years old, they still want to play, right? In men's league.
yeah, and it's funny because we talk about it like, when you play as a youth kid and then still go out there, we play 30s and 40s and, everyone's like, oh, how do you do that? And it's just it's the passion of everything, just
Yeah.
I couldn't give this up for anything right now. So,
Yeah.
I agree with
My
you.
body doesn't recover the same way,
I
but
don't definitely don't recover the same way.
I like
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
think it
No,
does.
that changes, but the passion still is there. And if anything, it's kind of burning harder, when I
Yeah.
kind of stepped back from coaching and then got back in with the youth, I found that the passion for myself was just through the moon. I just getting to do this day in, day out outside of my daily job is just incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, teaching the passion and getting the kids to love it as much as we do. I mean, that's the end of the day, what you do as a coach, right? So, but definitely. All right, let's move on here. So, how would you think you guys would describe your philosophy at HGR?
So kind of just going on top of that passion, right? The passion is the first and foremost, right? And sure, we have a top team, an A team and a B team, right? And it's hard at points in time because you have kids that you see the potential and they're really good players, and they may not be on the A team because the A team just has more talent, right? But passion is the most important thing, right? And then from there on out, like we want kids that come into our program to go back to their high school programs or youth programs knowing the sport of lacrosse and having a lacrosse IQ is kind of what we call it, right? And to do that, it's teaching them the sport, right? And basically, like for instance, like offense, if we take offense, for example, right? What I try and teach is every time we're on offense, we're trying to find a 2-on-1, right? Whether that's a 3-on-2, a 4-on-3, 6-on-6, right? Whatever it may be, we are trying to boil it down to find that 2-on-1, right? So 6-on-6, let's say we dodge, right? And we get a slide. We got to move that ball fast to find that 2-on-1. So like that's what we're trying to teach the kids here at HGR is the sport itself and how they can take what we're teaching them and go back to their high school program or their youth program and put it into essentially that offense that they're running there, right? And just try and develop this passion and build this lacrosse IQ where kids can use it at the next level,
Right.
right? And hopefully that foundation carries them all the way to college if they want to play college lacrosse down the line. But it's really the biggest thing is that passion aspect that we talked about already. Like that's first and foremost. If it becomes a job, kids don't want to do it, right? You see college kids, right? They work so hard and they really grind and they do everything right to get to that D1 level, and then freshman, sophomore year, they see how much work it is and they kind of lose that passion and then they transfer or don't play,
Right.
right? And
Hey,
that's
give up.
you know what are we what are we doing it for essentially, right? Like it's a game when it all boils down to it, right? Unfortunately, our sport at the professional level doesn't really make a ton of money, right? But it's kind of for that passion aspect and you know here we're trying to create that passion, but also develop that lacrosse IQ so kids can do it at a higher level and play
Yeah.
at that higher level.
I mean, we came just a couple years ago. I think that was probably 3 or 4 years ago, 3 years now that we switched over to HGR. And as a family, we were in a different program, and
Yep.
it was hard for my kids to find the passion at that program. And I could see it in the way my daughter, especially, was playing. And I remember, you know, you and you and Brian have been trying to get me over for a couple of years with my son. And I remember the first tryout for the girls, my daughter from the tryout was on another team as a top team and got to your tryout afterwards, got in the car and said, I don't care if I'm on the top team or the second team, but I want to play for that club. And it was
Yeah.
because the coaches at the girls level and the boys were just putting in such, you could just see the passion the way they coached, that it just radiated off them to the kids. So, when we made the switch as a family, that's been my biggest thing about this club. It's how incredible like the whole program is. Like you just see it from the bottom to the top of people actually care. Like they're doing this because they care and they want the kids to get better and enjoy the sport as much as we have. And you just look at your coaching staff on the boys' side. Think about how many high school level coaches are actually coaching these club teams. And to be a high school level coach, you got to have the passion at some point, right? So
Yeah.
pass that down to these kids is massive. And at the end of the day, finding the right fit for your family to build that passion is the way to go. So that's why it's when people ask me which clubs to go to. Obviously, I'm biased, right? I try to
Yeah.
send the ones I want on this way, but it's really try out for a couple of them if you're new to it and see which ones fit your family and fit your player and fit your everything.
Yeah. 100%. And I think the other thing too that we do a really, really good job of, and because it's not so cutthroat, right? Like I know some programs, right, their teams change between tournaments and we set a team, right? So like our teams are set for the summer season, right? And sure, like kids are going to develop at different speeds and from summer to fall there may be some movement between the teams, but that's just natural, right? Like kids are growing at different ages, right? Your Italian kids develop really fast, your Irish kids are a little bit slower,
Exactly.
right? And it all balances out when you get to high school, but the one thing that I think we do a pretty good job of and like our coaches are really in tune with, and I think you've seen it and you've done a really good job with it with your team is like it becomes almost like a family,
Right.
right? And team parents aren't so worried about, oh well, I got to get to that team, right? Like it's like, well, I like the team that I'm on and we're really good and we're getting really coached up. Like and they make friendships, right? That team bonding and the tailgate and all that stuff and awards after games and stuff like that, like we do a good job with here, and that kind of helps grow it too, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and I think you could see from the summer when I wasn't the coach, and then when I was in the fall, it was the same families. It was the same group, a group of
Yep.
families that didn't necessarily even really interact too much. A few did, and then you get to the fall, and now everyone's together because we tried to build that family kind of culture, and get everyone together, and be upfront and kind of explain things.
Yeah, and all of a sudden they're going to, like, birthday parties. Like, one kid has
Exactly,
a birthday party and, like, so the twins, right? So they had a birthday party and, like, "Who do you wanna invite?" "My whole HGR team." Like,
yeah,
no friends from school or town. It was just their HGR lacrosse team.
yep. Yeah, I think we had a game Friday night, and one of my players and his father came down to the game and came to see me before the high school game started. It was pretty cool to see. So,
Yeah, it's awesome.
they got a text from one of our players' dad yesterday. He was coaching at youth and explained how he's took some of the things that we did, not just skill and drill wise, but culture wise, put it into his town team, and how incredible it's been. Just those few little things that get the kids excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, and which drives that passion again, right?
Exactly.
Like,
Right.
it
End
all
of the
comes
day, it
back to
goes back
that
to the
as
passion.
many times as we can.
All right. So, um, let's go more towards like the kind of newer players coming into the sport, because I know there's gonna, I get a lot of questions of kids in the fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade. Oh, we want to try club, and I try to explain to them you're never gonna know what if you're able to do until you try it. So go try out. If I was a parent of a new player in say fourth, fifth grade, and I was coming up to you and I said, what do you think my son or daughter would be need for traits or skill level to be eligible for a club? What would you kind of explain to them?
So I think the biggest thing is stick skills, right? And that's, I even preach it to my high school kids, right? Like the offensive kids at Billerica High, like I talk about stick skills all the time, right? You can be whatever type of athlete you are, right? Like some of it's kind of just DNA given, right? Like tall, fast, some kids aren't as tall, like they're shorter and fast. You got bigger kids that are stronger, but stick skills are so important that if you can develop your stick and have a pretty good stick skills, you can play this game at any level, right? And I think a lot of people club wise get nervous about, my kid's not dominating town, so is he not going to make the club team? And like, sure, those kids that dominate town are usually club players, and some of them are the exception at the club level, right? They're at the top of the club level too, right? When you see them play. But if you have the stick skills and you get paired up with a good coach that knows the sport, he can teach you everything else, right? He can teach you that offense, the defense. If you're on defense, approach angles and stuff like that. If you're on offense, like how to clear space, how to make space, how to set a pick and roll off the pick, how to, play the crease and give yourself room on the crease so that you're not catching right on top of the goalie. You're catching it where you have some room to you can finish. But it all comes down to, having those stick skills. So like with a new player that's trying out, like same thing as you, like I say, like try out, see where you stack up, right? And like see where you're at. Like the Twins had a friend that tried out this winter for us that like wants to play with the Twins, and dad came to practice, and unfortunately he didn't make the team, but he was like, all right, like now he's seen it, right? We can work to that,
Right.
right? And he's doing clinics, he's doing camps, he's working on the skill because he wants to be part of it, right? He kind of like your daughter, like saw what it was there and was like, I want to be part of this. I got to get there. And like, it stinks to cut a kid, but it also is a little bit what drives a kid a little bit more too. Like, if he really wants it and goes, oh, I really want to be a part of that, I'm going to work so that they have to take me type thing. But like we've had multiple kids, like we've had kids over the years that come to tryouts, and just numbers wise, like we don't go more than two teams right now,
Right.
right? That's kind of our threshold where we think that if we go to three teams, then we're watering it down a little bit. I think now that I say that, that 34 age group may be one where we go to three teams because essentially you have two blue teams at that level,
Right.
but that's for another day. But like the two team threshold ensures that we have a good showing
Yep.
at both levels.
Understood.
And we've had kids that just run into a numbers thing that come try out that don't make it, and then all of a sudden they come to our clinics, right, in the wintertime that we hold at HGR, and they work at it. And then they come back to tryouts and they make the green team. And then they play a couple years on the green team. They start to develop, they start to grow into their bodies, and then they're going to the blue team, right? And then they're going to play E1 lacrosse, right? We've had that happen with a player where he got cut, he got on a green team, worked his butt off, made the blue team, kept on working, and he's playing D1 lacrosse now, right? And it's like, it's not a bad thing to be cut, but I also think like it's important for kids to try it and see what's out there. Because each town, just to kind of add to that, is like each town has different levels too. You see it all the time, right? Like you could play, I don't want to name towns or anything, but like you could play a town where that's not very strong at lacrosse, right? And they have one good player and he goes to try out for a club. He may not be at the same as the top player from a good town, type thing. So
Yeah.
I think it's important to give it a shot.
Yeah, and something you said about like, I think it's a good thing sometimes you get cut, or at the same time too, especially at the younger grades of like the third, fourth, fifth, even the sixth grade group. Like it's not the end of the world if you don't make the top team, right? Like
Yeah.
the way, especially the way you guys build it, you put just as much effort into your coaching staff at the top team as you do on the second team. And when my son, for instance, was made green, and he was upset the first day, and then I explained to him it just gives you a drive to get better. And if you take that as what it is, it's not a demotion, or it's not a negative to make the green team, right? Or the second team of any club, for instance. But it just shows you like that this is the level you need to be at, and this is what you got to do to work to it, and this is how we get you to be there. So I hear a lot about parents like, oh, we're going to try a different club because we didn't make the top team. Your kid's in third grade. Like, utilize that as a challenge and see what they need to be better. And to me, if you think your kid's this much better and doesn't get put on the top team, well, that means you're at the right club, right? So say you never want to be, they say those old wives' tale, you never want to have the nicest house in the neighborhood because the value, it's just same thing. It's like if they're at that young age, you have to be able to have a drive. And sometimes I find kids that make the top teams early on somewhat lose it compared to a kid that's been on the second team and he just worked his butt off to get back to that top level.
Yeah. And a lot of it too is like, and I know your son's one of them, right? It's the work that you do when nobody's watching too, right? Which separates you and gets you to that top team, right? Like the practices, all town club practices and games are great, right? And you gain a ton of experience from playing in those and participating in those and paying attention in those, but it's also like the work that you do when nobody's looking, right? That really gets you to that top level.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not just you play on the top team in the country, right? Like all those kids that play on that top team in the country are doing work that
Work
nobody
that no one
sees.
else is doing. Right. It's
Yeah.
the stuff that no one sees, so,
Yeah.
um, all right, let's go into on the, some of the stuff you hear. Obviously you talk to parents and people have misconceptions about what club is. And one thing I do notice is like, and obviously it's a different sport, but with club hockey to town hockey, it's been tough because they're the same season, right? So if you're a club hockey player, you're playing so much, you don't have time for town, and it's a constant battle. Where I definitely see, especially with you guys, you appreciate kids playing in town and finding pride in their town. But what are some of the misconceptions you think you've heard in the last whatever 5, 6, 7 years you've been doing this, that you just kind of laugh at sometimes and just say, it's not really the true honest thing, and you're thinking of something different? So
Yeah. I think like travel's a big one, right? I think that's kind of deterrent for a lot of people. And we do a fairly good job of treating our tournament locations kind of like family vacations,
yep,
right? So like our youth teams, they go to Rhode Island, they go to I forget the
UMass,
other, the
and we're
middle,
going to UMass.
UMass,
Yeah,
and well, they used to go to Vermont. I
Missouri
wanted to say
Yep,
Vermont,
yep.
and then they go to Lake George, right?
Yeah,
And
Lake
like
George,
Lake
Lake George Heat
George,
is the best. Yeah,
It's the best weekend ever. Families go up 2 days before, or they stay 2 days after, and they turn it into kind of like a 4 week vacation. I mean, I remember at one point I was coaching our high school teams, and we didn't play that point, and I took the whole family just to like float around the fields and keep an eye on all the HGR teams, but nobody was
No
playing. We
one's
just
playing,
wanted
you're
to
just
go
there.
up and
Yeah.
spend 4 days up there, you know?
Awesome. Yeah, last year was a lot of fun up there.
Yeah, and Vermont was a good one too. UMass, we're just trying to make it a little bit cheaper. Where UMass, you don't have to stay over, right? The Vermont, what you notice sometimes too with some of these tournaments is hotel prices get skyrocketed
Yeah,
when they know the tournament's coming to town. So UMass, like families could make a day trip out there, right? It's about from our facility, it's like an hour and 45 minutes drive, right? So they can go back and forth. And same thing with Rhode Island, right? But you can turn it into a little like weekend vacation at the beach, and Newport's right there. And kind of some families did that last year where they went to Newport. And then in the fall, like we say super close,
right.
right?
Yeah,
They're all in Massachusetts or New Hampshire.
right.
So we try and make it as cheap as possible. And like, I get like you do want to play the best talent that you can play and your team can compete. We're always looking for a 1 goal game, right? Is when we're trying to pair teams up and what bracket to put them in and what tournament to put them in. We want them to play a 1 goal game. So we try and keep them as local as possible so that families can afford it, because it does get expensive. It's a investment, right?
Yep,
And
absolutely.
so we try and stay as local as possible. For instance, my team is going to Maryland that middle tournament instead of UMass. And it's just kind of a decision that we made where they played in that middle tournament last year and didn't really have a game, right? And that, like I said, we're looking for that one goal situation in a game. We may go to Maryland and get smoked. I don't know. Right. But it's kind of testing the waters to see if they can play at that level. Right. But, like a big thing is we just want the kids playing. Right. Like you see kids that come to our program in the summer and then go back to their town, and their skill has just jumped
Right.
a huge gap. Right. Compared to a kid that, didn't play club in the summer and just kind of played town, and they were probably equal in town. When they come back together, there's a gap that has been developed.
Understood.
And I'm sure you see that all the time
All the
too.
time.
Like kids come back and you're like, you don't notice it when you're in front of it all the time, but then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that they separated each other. They separated from each other skill wise. But it's also like nobody's recruiting a youth kid either,
Right.
right? Like
Think that was
you,
one of my notes, a misconception that it's no one's looking at your kids. Like this is in the early before high school, club is about getting your kids better at a different level than what town
yeah,
can offer. Obviously when you get to high school, it's obviously the recruiting aspect, but when I hear parents talk about the national ratings and, rankings at when the kid's in fifth grade, I'm like, well, is your kid getting any better, or are they just focusing on the team on that number in the U.S. Lacrosse magazine or something?
yeah. And I have a lot of, I don't know the proper word, but I see it all the time, right? And like a lot of these teams that are that high up there, their roster changes every week.
Yeah,
And
not even
it's
the same
like,
team.
yeah, not even the same team. So how can you rank teams that change their rosters week by week? I just don't get it. And I get why there is a ranking, right? And I can see that, but it also at points in time it doesn't make sense. Right.
I would agree.
Um
I would
and
agree.
I think sometimes those rankings are just for parents, right?
That's what I was
And
sort of getting
kids
at.
to repost, and like it's cool, right? It's a cool thing, like it's a cool accomplishment, but it doesn't carry
It
anywhere,
shouldn't be the
essentially.
goal, right? The goal should always be
Yeah.
to get better at the younger levels, and then obviously get recruited, because that's the end of the day. You're trying to get your child to play or to college, and
Yeah,
get to
yeah,
college. It
and
doesn't matter if it's D1, 2, or 3. Like just getting a kid to the next level to play is it's very important in my book, and I know that's important in your book. We've had long conversations about just going to the place that fits, and it's got to sort of be the same way for the club. Like find a club that fits your program, that's going to get the most for your money and for your kid. It's not just
yeah,
about it's not just the I'm wearing I'm probably keeping up the Joneses and I'm going to play for this club. No, you got to find the club that works for you. So
yeah, and you wanna make sure you're developing in that club. If you're just on the field and you're I always say this, right? Like, you don't want to be the guy that swings the ball from one guy to another guy,
Nope.
right? You want to you want to be part of the offensive possession, right? And if you're just a swing guy, that might not be A, the right level that you should be playing at, right? And B, it may not be the right club, right? Because you're never going to develop the rest of your skills if you're just catching it and throwing
Moving it.
it to another guy,
Right.
right?
You're just a vessel to get one ball to the next. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Be a scorer, be a dodger, like develop that whole part of your game, right? Like I always say, like you want to have you want to be teetering on like 2 turnovers a game, right? Because that's where you can decide if you're going too hard and trying to do too much. If all of a sudden you have 4 turnovers, you're probably trying to do too much in the offensive set. But if you have 1 or 0 turnovers, you don't want to be that
swing play.
swing guy, right? You wanna work towards, 1 to 2 turnovers a game because that means you're right on the cusp of playing like out of control and in control, right? And if you end up with 0 turnovers, you're not pushing the envelope enough, and you're probably leaving some plays out there that you could have made, right? And if you have 6 turnovers, you're trying to do too much, and you got to play more team-oriented lacrosse and move the ball in situations instead of trying to split triple teams.
Understood.
It's love.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions I hear, and I try to explain when they're like, I don't want to give up my entire summer. And it's about I would say 6 weeks really after,
Yeah,
June. You take away
yeah.
4th of July
Well,
weekend there, and it's only really 5 weeks. It gets you to the end of July. You still got all of August to do stuff. Yeah.
and that's kind of something that we run into in Massachusetts, especially
Yeah.
like where our school year is long. If you look at high school lacrosse, like the state championship is really far back compared to everybody else. So, up here where you're pushing, A, you don't want to interrupt the high school season, right? You want those kids playing as long as they can. They shouldn't be worrying about anything else except for trying to win a state title, right? And then once they're done, then they can come to the club side. But, in Massachusetts, where everything is kind of pushed back, you're looking at that 5 to 6 weeks for a club season, right? It starts mid-June and end of July,
End of
right?
July,
It's
right.
kind of the scene, and that's kind of the way that it works at the college level too, because they have all these recruiting blackout dates now, right? Like 4th of July weekends, like there's I forget how many days it is. I think it's like 6 days is a recruiting blackout. August is a recruiting blackout because essentially these coaches have to have a family life too.
Exactly, right. They needed
So
time.
yeah, so we always say like you end town lacrosse or you end your high school season, you start with us middle of June-ish, right? We go June, July, and then the month of August there's for kids to be kids,
It's right.
right? Like especially my boys, right? I want them going fishing. I want to go to the beach. I want to like ride bikes, like go build a fort in the woods, like go be kids, go out and be an outdoor kid, I always
Exactly.
say,
Be
right?
outdoors. Yeah.
Yeah, like and in turn, like I've kind of made a running joke of it too, like with like my high school team, right? Like you see kids that are really athletic, right? They pick up a lacrosse ball and they throw it in a bucket, right? Or like you see them dribbling a basketball in the gym when we're waiting to do film, right? And they're waiting for everybody to get there. And like I always say, like, that's an outdoor kid. He played outside when he was little,
When he was little,
right?
right.
He
Yeah.
wasn't in front of a screen, right? And that's essentially what you want, right? You want your kid to be an outdoor kid and an all around athlete. And with that lacrosse season only being 5 to 6 weeks, the fall's a little bit longer because we try and work around fall sports.
All sports, right.
So essentially, like it's almost 2.5 months in the fall because we do our practices before the tournaments. So you usually get 5 weeks of practices, and then you get your tournaments after that. So it's anywhere from like 2 to 2.5 months in the fall
Yeah.
season. That way,
But
kids
in
can
in
still
the
play
fall,
soccer and football.
your practices are, you have one practice a week with an optional one. Well, you guys work around, like you said, you work around the fall sports. So you almost encourage kids to try to do more than just lacrosse. Like you still want them to play soccer in the fall and hockey. I mean, the hockey season, it's like 9, 10 months.
September
Yeah.
to
10
September to
months
March.
basically. So yeah, no, it's I just find that people are like, oh, we don't want to lose our summers, and I get that, and it's obviously something you got to keep in mind when your business is focused on a summery time thing. But I think at the end of the day, and if your kid really wants to be into it, and like you said, you guys plan your tournaments to make little family vacations, and it's we have found it to be not that much of an intrusion on our lives. It's sort of like come into our life now, and two kids, and it's even harder for us. You get the same thing. You have boys and you got
Yeah.
girls, and they're never really in the same. So you work your way around it, you deal with it, and you make the best of it, and hopefully your kids can really grow from the sport.
Well, and the big thing that I always say too, right, is like I want them to have smiles when they come off the field too, right? And it sounds like I'm just pushing this passion thing, but it kind of comes back to that passion. Like I want them all of a sudden I look out in the backyard and they're playing lacrosse, just messing around with a stick, right? And that's like that keeps on driving the ship, right? And
Absolutely.
it's funny, like especially my kids, whatever sport they're in, that's the sport that they're playing outside, right? Like hockey season, they're shooting hockey pucks. Lacrosse season, they're shooting lacrosse balls. Jane plays basketball, right? She's shooting basketballs, as soon as the pavement doesn't have snow on it, right?
Exactly.
But it's kind of like whatever sport they're in, that's the one that they're kind of passionate about, which I'm fine with, right?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely. You gotta,
they're kids.
with the amount of distractions of screen time and everything like that for kids these days. Obviously, we didn't have that when we were kids, and they're always people are always tied into something and dialed in, and having them find passion in outdoor activities and sports and things like that is important to me. Yeah, and I know it's important to you as well. So it's
Yeah.
like you said, getting outside and being out there. It's so much better than kids being on a screen or something. So
Yeah, you're just developing different skills.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
like my wife always says I have too many hobbies. Because I like playing lacrosse, I like playing hockey, right? Like I'm, wintertime, I'm playing, 2 nights of hockey and 1 night of lacrosse,
Right.
right? As much as I can, right? And then summertime comes, and me and the boys are going fishing all the time, right? They love fishing too, right? And I'm like, let's go fishing, right? And like whatever have you, like I have so many hobbies that I enjoy doing, and
Right.
it's a running joke in our house. Like, you got too many hobbies.
I hear you on that one. I keep going, and I just seem to keep adding more to it. But it's stuff when it's stuff that you like. It's really not that hard to make it work. And that
Yeah,
again, at the end of the day, it goes back to the passion. What are you passionate about, and what are you going to carry on into your life? So,
yeah,
but yeah, no, I love that passion part of it. I think it I think the love of the sport and all sports, with the way kind of youth sports are and parent expectations, I think the love of the sport is something that gets forgotten about. And to me, that's what I've always loved about lacrosse is that the more people you meet that play lacrosse, you can tell they love it, and it just sticks with them.
yeah,
I mean, think about our community of adults that play in the 40s and 30s, and we're all intertwined with it, and we all know each other. You go anywhere in the world of lacrosse, you see someone you know, so it's pretty awesome. So
yeah. And like a connection somewhere, right? You could be,
exactly,
there's points in time where like we were in Maryland and, like kids come up to you and they're like, do you know so and so? And I'm like, yeah, like he was my college roommate or whatever have you. And like there's all those connections, which is really cool. And, it's a tight knit
tight
community,
knit
which is
community. Yeah.
it's
All
really,
right.
really awesome.
Well, I think that's all the questions I had. I wanted to give you a couple minutes here if you want to promote, HGR, where people can find you and kind of reach out and check you guys out for some information.
Yeah, so our website is hgrlacrosse.com. We do clinics, camps, leagues, teams, elite teams, which we've kind of talked about, but our next big thing is our summer camp. We do 2 weeks at Brooks. It's incredible. My kids do an actual North Andover runs like an in-town, like old school summer camp where you're playing dodgeball, kickball, and they asked to skip that camp for 2 weeks so that they can go to
Go to
lacrosse
lacrosse
camp
camp.
because it's so much fun. But that's the next big thing, and then we'll have our fall team tryouts July 1st through the 3rd. But everything's on our website at hgrlacrosse.com, and I appreciate you for having me, and giving me time to kind of talk about what we do here and talk about lacrosse a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't think of a better first guest for me. Made it easy. We just talk like we don't really do. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. how to grow that fourth grade group
Yeah,
more and
exactly.
more.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
Teach them advanced concepts
Yeah.
and have them playing
All
real
right,
good
Pete. Well,
lacrosse.
thank you
So
very much. Good luck the rest of the way for your high school team, and seeing you on the field soon.
yeah, yeah, we'll see you in a couple weeks, I think.
Yeah,
So
sounds good. All right, thanks,
all
Pete.
right,
Yep. Have a good one.
thanks.
Yep.
Talk to you.